Okay, welcome back to DSD Phase 2. My name is Livio Youshinaga. I'm going to drive you through the process of creating this DSD Phase 2, which is after this phase, we transfer the line, the horizontal line to the model, and now we're going to start designing the new smile, doing the real digital smile design over an image which is going to be replaced by this one. We need to bring the full resolution image. To do this, I'm going to duplicate the slide and get rid of all the rulers. I don't need the rulers anymore to measure. So we're going to get rid of all the rulers and also the lines. Now I end up with a slide with only the smile, and now I will be able to replace this image with a high resolution intraoral picture of the same patient. To do this, I need to design some landmarks that will be references in order for me to bring the other image on the same position, on the same size, on the same angulation. So the first thing, I'm going to draw 3 lines. The first line is going to be from the tip of the canine to the tip of the other canine. Don't forget to press Alt, the keyboard Alt, because then it releases the line and I can place it exactly on the tip. You can choose, on this case I have 2 tips. I'm going to choose this one. Now the second line is going to be the central of the central to the other middle of the central here. So the middle of the central to the middle of the center. I'm going to adjust this tip, this line here a little bit. So I really want to get like this. And this is now good. Now the third line will be the vertical. It's going to be vertical line, and actually in this case this line is a little bit twisted, which is going to be inclined. This will be the line of the midline of the centrals. So with those 3 lines designed, I'll be able to position the next image according to those reference points, and we'll be able to replace this low resolution image, which is a big crop of the full face image, with the high resolution intraoral picture. Let's go ahead and duplicate the slide, and then my next step is to erase the image. Just click on the image, hit delete on your computer, on your keyboard, and now we have the reference lines here. I'm going to go ahead, just duplicate the slide, and I'm going to insert the full resolution, the high resolution intraoral picture. As you can see, it comes on top of the lines. So the first thing I have to do is to send this back. Now I have it here, and if I put the tip of this canine here and this tip of this canine here, I'll be able to duplicate the same size as well, the same rotation of the first image. So I need to reduce a little bit more. You can see the tips almost there. One tip is here, the other one is a little bit far away, so I have to reduce this a little bit more and then replace it. And I think this is very nice. Once I do this, I don't pay attention to the second and third line. I just pay attention to canine to canine. And now my next step, I'm going to duplicate the slide. The next step is to erase this line, and I'll try to adjust on both horizontal and vertical the position of this image. So now I'm going to duplicate the slide and erase both lines. Now I have this image, is on the same position and rotation than this image on the back here. So now we are able to start doing the process of designing. I'm going to touch up a little bit of this image by cropping a little bit this image. I don't want the mustache. I just want to keep all the teeth that I can. Reduce a little bit of this background here. Crop here as well. Very close. And crop here. Click outside. The image all cropped. Now to reduce the background here, I'm going to click on the image, and then on the image tool there is a command here, the first one, which is to erase the background. See that it gives me already an instinctive rectangle. I'm going to open more this rectangle, so it's going to keep more information. I open a little bit more, and now on this side I want to open a little bit more as well. So my image is cropped here. I'm going to reduce a bit. I don't want to cut that area on the back. Okay, now it is much better. And if I want to keep this little tip here, I can do that, and then I can add this to my rectangle. I'm gonna also keep this area here. Perfect. And now I can just say check. I'm gonna keep the changes. So now all the background is removed, and I have a very nice image back on my screen. I'm gonna go back on my slide that I have across, and I'm going to click and hold shift and click. Then I'm going to do a Ctrl+C. So I'm copying those two lines, and I'm going to place those two lines with a Ctrl+V here, and see how exact the position of this vertical line gets with this image. It's not on the zero, it doesn't matter, it's in the center of the slide, and this is what matters for us. Now remember that this vertical line is the same position of the midline of the teeth, of the smile, and coincidentally it is the same line of the midline of the face. There was a little discrepancy, but at this point, on this case, the discrepancy we can disregard because it's within the 4 millimeter range rule. Now I'm gonna take this line and put it down here, and we're gonna start doing the process of designing the smile. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw a curve, which is this command here, and basically I'm going to look to the posterior area, and I can see that this side is a little bit better, so I can create somehow a line, a curve. Once I reach this, I can hit ESC to stop drawing, and this is a nice, let's say, harmony, nice harmony to this curve. I can also start to work on this curve and make something nice like this. Now I'm going to duplicate the curve. It's duplicated now. I made a mistake here. By mistake I put the image, so Ctrl+Z, and I want to get this curve. Okay, now I got it. And I'm going to reflect. So to reflect this, I'm going to form the design tool here, this yellow menu, and then on rotation I'm going to rotate horizontally right here. Click, and this image will be rotated like this. Okay, so I can see that on this I would have to open a little bit, sorry, I will have to open a little bit this curve, and the curve that I'm going to open a little bit, I'm just adjusting to get a more realistic design. Now you can change this at any time. You can change this curve at any time. If you need a more open design for this curve, and we can at any time touch up to start looking from far away and see if this curve is a nice and harmonious curve. So this is the first, let's say, reference for the smile design, and can be, of course, changed for during the process. Now, let's duplicate the slide, and now we're going to design a rectangle. Right here, you can just create a rectangle, and you can design any rectangle like that. Okay. What we want here is to create a proportional rectangle. Let's start, we have to guess a start, and let's say I want a rectangle with a relationship of height and width of 80%. So 80% will be, I want this rectangle to have this proportion relationship between the height and the width. So how are we going to do this? First, let's click on the rectangle and right click on the mouse. Then we're going to format the form. It opens this menu here. I don't want any filling, any color on the background, and also I want a thinner line. Let's put a 1 point width of this line. Now we're gonna change this. We're gonna right click and then go to size and position, and we can see that the size, the height, and the width is here. There's one box that if I check here, this is going to be fixed, so it doesn't change. I cannot change the and distort the proportion. If I don't click here, then I can really change the proportion of the height and width. So for this exercise, we're not going to have it fixed. We're going to unlock it, and on the height, we're gonna punch. My computer is on centimeters. You're gonna go to the nearest one. If it's 8.83, you go to 10. If it's 0.8, you go to 1. 183, I'm going to 1. And on the width, I'm gonna go to 0.8. And if I click here, now I have a rectangle with this relationship. Now I'm going to fix it. I do not use those numbers here, percentage. I only use the size. Now with this fixed, it means that this rectangle here has 80%, and also this rectangle has 80%, as well as this little rectangle has 80% of relationship. It doesn't matter the size, it matters the relationship on the height and width. So now I can go ahead and place this on my first tooth that I will design, and I'm going to touch the mesial and also the cervical area. And looking at this case, we are not going to change the width of this tooth. So all we're going to do is I'm going now to resize it in a way that I can find the width. Okay, so now the width of this tooth is defined. I can now bring my both curves to this point, and also I can bring my line to this point. That means that now we can start designing. You can touch up and reposition again the curve. Okay, here let's open a little bit more, and here let's open a little bit more. Okay. And we have a nice harmony to the teeth. If you click on the curve and you want to edit the points, you can also do this. So if I do this, I'm actually changing the position of the points. Okay, and the same I'm gonna do. I'm gonna duplicate, Ctrl D, position this on my other tooth, and let's make sure that they are aligned here. Okay, perfect. And I'm going to edit the points of this curve to make sure that we are creating a nice curve as a reference. Now, this is our start. This is how we would start the process. This mainly, if it fits the design of the tooth here, it is going to really work. Let's you can see that it's a little bit off here, so we're going to make it a little bit bigger, and I erase the other one because now I'm going to duplicate with the new dimensions. Don't get the image like me, just get the click on the rectangle until you have it, and then here you can position right there. Okay, now we can see it's a really nice design, and we can start designing the tooth here. Let's do the freehand technique. So freehand technique, I'm going to start with the curve designing, and I can utilize the square as my reference, and I will keep the cervical area of this tooth. Okay, so we can then take this design. I didn't close, so see, this is a little mistake here. We can edit, right click and edit those points, and you can do some touch-ups here if you want, or if you want, you can just click it here and erase to do another one. Let's do it closer so you can see how the curve command responds to my mouse movement here. So nice. Here, let's try to close. Now it's a closed polygon, and I'm gonna right click, format figure, and then I'm gonna choose no fillings. I don't want to fill with anything here. Okay, so now I can change the size of this design by moving the squares of this to really fix this here. So this means that I have an 80% central design here. I can go ahead and erase. Let's just duplicate the slide and do this on the next slide. We're going to erase the boxes. I don't need the boxes anymore. I can now duplicate this tooth again, going to the command, the yellow command, and then invert horizontally, and then I can place it here on the same position of the second tooth. So this will start giving you a nice way of designing. If I look to the cervical area of this lateral, I think this lateral is a much nicer lateral than the 12. So the 22 is much better. At the same time, I can, let's just again right click, format, and get without any filling here. And the same process, we can design the canine. Now the canine, I don't need to, I want to keep my relationship nice. Okay, and now I can, let's just take this filling away, and now I can reposition with my arrows, reposition and do and resize it if needed. Okay, now let's edit those points. Let's create a smoother transition here, and this is a nicer situation. Let's just go ahead and duplicate this lateral. Again, clicking on the yellow and then invert horizontally, and let's place it on the other side. Okay, now what we can see is that there is a big discrepancy here, and this would be an impossible situation. So what we're going to do is create an illusion. The problem here is that the curvature of this arc is different of this other side. So the right side of the patient is the curvature is stronger, and the left side of the patient, the curvature is smoother. So in order for us to simulate that this tooth has the same dimension but is more on a perspective way, let's say the patient is not going to go through an orthodontic treatment, so we're going to adapt this design by creating the illusion of a rotation. So we're going to say this is an illusion of rotation, and we're going to adapt a little bit here, not so much, maybe here. Same thing we're going to do with the canine. Duplicate, invert, and let's place it on the canine there. See, now the whole process, we will have to shrink a little bit the lateral and then do the same thing for the canine, and we're going to reposition it in order for us to level. I can bring this line here, and then I can reposition this to level better the canine. See, my curve now is not okay, so we can go ahead and just adapt the curve to the new design. I still have a nice harmonic design. Now I bring back my horizontal line to here, and here's our final design of the DSD, which we could send this to the technician. Let's just duplicate this image. Also, I can go ahead and go back to any slide that has my ruler. I'm going to copy this ruler, go back to my last slide. I'm going to paste my ruler here. This ruler should be calibrated already because this image is a different image, but it has the same position and size of the original image. So if we put here, just let's double check, that should be 17, and here is very close to 17. Can do a little adaptation here. So this is 17. So it's calibrated ruler. We're going to now, let's turn this ruler up to the vertical position, and I can place this ruler in a very nice, it's going to be a very easy way to do this, which means it's going to give to my technician a nice, I'm hitting Ctrl D to duplicate the ruler, and it's going to give to our technician a nice reference of how much he has to add on this case. Okay. Also, we can do this to show how much. Let's just invert this ruler here, and we can do like this, and we know how much we have it here. Also, if you want, you can position this here, giving to your surgeon a nice feeling of how this gingival plastic surgery has to be done. Okay, so you can measure basically anything on the image and send this to your technician. And this concludes, this finishes our DSD for PowerPoint phase 2. Phase 3 will be just a flourish, which is a strong set of commands, so you can then paint the inner part of each outline with the texture of the teeth. So this is what we're going to do now. Let's go back to this slide. Let's go back here. Let's duplicate and put this duplicated slide at the end. And now we're going to get rid of all the lines and the curves. Now only with the teeth with the outline, and we're going to add some texture, this texture on the teeth. We designed those teeth with a freehand technique. You can also open our template. We've given to you a presentation that has many shapes of existing teeth, existing shapes. You can just click on any of those teeth and then Control C, come back here, Control V, and then distort the size of that new shape to the square of 80%. So you can do another way of designing teeth, which is let's say getting a copy of any outline of any smile that you may have on your database. Now let's focus on the 21, and let's do how could we apply texture here on the 21. First, I'm going to select the image and do a Control C. So I send this to my memory, to my clipboard. Now I click on my tooth, right click, and then format. So now we are here. We're going to, this is without any filling. So we're going to do here, this means that we're going to fulfill the texture of this tooth with a texture or image. This texture here is one of the texture that the PowerPoint has in its database. You can change the texture, but we don't want any of those texture. What we want is the clipboard, which before, that's why before we sent this image with the Control C to this area, and this is how the whole image is going to fit inside the tooth. So this is okay, this phase. Now we're going to duplicate the slide. We're going to click on the tooth, image tool, and then crop, as if we would crop. The thing is, cropping this image means that I could cut on the black part of the reference, but there's a little ball here. The ball changes from this to the ball, see? And I'm going to re-stretch the ball in a way that I can fulfill the background of this tooth with the texture of the central. Once I have the result, I click outside, and now I can take those outlines with the line color without line, and this is how we managed to do the texture of these teeth. Let's do the same here for the lateral. Format, image or texture filling, and transfer area, which is already there. And then if we want to touch up that, we're going to go here, and we can choose the same texture. See, that's the central, or we can give a nice lateral. I'm going to make it bigger just to use enough information to texturize the tooth. Let's do the same for this teeth. Transfer area. Now clicking it here, go to crop, and then just reposition. Now I need a wider and shorter. You can choose. I'm gonna still keep the texture of the canine, but I could use the texture of the lateral. It doesn't matter. I just make it bigger, the lateral, and I think I'm happy with this lateral. So here it is. The same thing here we can do, but in this case we can just copy this tooth, and then rotate and invert, so that pretty much the same results with a much lighter, much easier process. Now let's go back to the same process here. Format figure, filling, transferring, and I have it here, and the same here. Format figure right there. Now let's select, pressing the shift, I can select the 4 of them, right click, and then get rid of the lines, the line color without line, and this is how my process starts to get a nicer position. We can add, make it bigger, some of those teeth, just to close some of those diastemas. And we are ready now. This image, we are ready to place this on the mouth, on the smile. So let's take an image of the smile here. Let's take this one. Okay, let's duplicate the slide and then bring it by dragging all the way down. I'm going to erase those lines, and from here all we have to do is to click on those teeth, Ctrl C, and here Ctrl V, and this is the position of the new teeth. Now we have a problem here that the cervical area is behind. So before we do that, let's just duplicate this slide. Let's erase those teeth. What we're going to do is we're going to create the lip, the upper lip, by designing. We're going to design the upper lip. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, let's take the filling away. And now, do you agree that if I get the filling of this image on this polygon, then I have the lip? So I'm going to take this image, the same process, Ctrl C. Now I sent this to the transfer area. I'm going to get the form, and I'm going to say put this with the texture. Now what we see here is that the whole image is distorted to fit here. So let's go ahead and do the cropping, and you can see that's a very big image like this. All you have to do is just bring it close to this image here. Let's zoom in back again. Okay, and if we would match the corners of this image with the corners of the original image, that means that the size is going to be the same, and the lip will be there. Okay, now if I click here and I erase this image, I have the lip here. Let's take the line away, and now we're ready to build the image here. This was a nice image, but with the lip on behind. Now we get the lip, Ctrl C. We get this image, Ctrl V. Our lip is on top of the teeth crown. Okay, so let's duplicate this slide, and the last step of our DSD is to have this. I want to see the whole face of this patient. Remember that this image is cropped from the first image. So if I do this, if I click on this image and I do the cropping, the whole face is behind it. PowerPoint keeps the memory. It knows that this is all here. We can click here, and then we can see the whole face here. So if we do this, it's easy to relocate and open this image right here. Okay, when I click, this is how this all is going to look like. Let's zoom out. Let's open a big window, and then we have to group. Once I group, I can hold the Shift key and make it a smaller big picture of the after of the simulation. I can go back all the way up, get this, Ctrl C, go back on this slide, Ctrl V. Now I have a before. Let's put this a little bit bigger, and not so big, almost at the same size. Don't forget to hold the Shift, otherwise it's going to distort your image. And it doesn't matter if I don't have the full head, because mainly you want to show the teeth part. So if I do this, something like this, I can now play my slides, and I have a before and after simulation of the DSD with the texture of the teeth. Here, because this is a lip, you can also play with the transparency. So you can show the transparency of this image. You can show how much you're hiding back here. Okay, and also in this position here, you can show, if you just click and select all the forms, you can go ahead and do on the filling, you can do the transparency. So it's a nice way to show how much you're changing the smile of that patient, and all this is done on PowerPoint. Okay, so let's do just a quick review of the whole process. Bringing the picture, putting behind the lines, leveling the picture on the horizontal line, and then on the middle line we're going to crop the image and crop the lines. I'm going to group, put on the left bottom left corner, make it big. Then we're going to calibrate the ruler. We know that the distal to distal of those centrals are 17 centimeters. So we distort that ruler to that 17 centimeters. Now we add the three lines, canine to canine, the middle of the centrals, and the midline of the teeth. we raise the image, we bring the other image, put behind those lines, and adapt the size to match the reference, the landing points. Canine to canine, that's the first move, and then central line and central and midline of the face, of the line, of the smile, sorry. Now, we cropped the image and we raise the background, we create a nice curve, and then a square of 80% of height and width. We know that on this case we're not going to change the width, so the width of the tooth was our reference on 21. We just touched the cervical area, and we design within the square a freehand design of this central. It can be also it can be brought by other images, copying the outline of those teeth. Now we design freehand the other teeth, adapting for the different curvature of this patient. Added some rulers that are calibrated. We just check the calibration, minor changes to recalibrate the ruler. But now the technician can look at this image, and he has in centimeters, in millimeters, how much he has to add on those teeth. So now we add the image to the clipboard by Ctrl+C, and then we clicked on the teeth 21, and we selected to do a image filling. Then we can just stretch this image by working on the crop on the little balls, circles, and we can do this for the whole teeth. We can now bring the lip, make the design of the lip, bring it over the teeth, and also we can play with the transparency. At the end, this image has the whole face around it, as shown before. So then we can just go ahead and place it like this, showing a very nice simulation of the whole treatment for the patient. I hope you enjoyed DSD concept on PowerPoint, and for sure we have much more to teach, but this is the real basic and advanced features that you can really change your the way you design teeth, the way you design your treatment, following the DSD concept that was developed by Christian Coachman. And my name is Livio Youshinaga. Again, I was responsible for adapting this concept to the PowerPoint commands, and for sure you can work on both platforms. You could see that PowerPoint, you can do everything, but for sure we think that the Mac platform is a little bit easier if you don't know how to work with PowerPoint. Anyway, we hope you the best. Try DSD, try the phase 1 to transfer. Just to the transfer to the model is going to be a big hit, but you can go ahead and try to design your own teeth, and good luck on your new ventures. See you next time. Bye bye.